Have you ever felt that familiar tug of frustration, that urge to correct, to prove a point, only to find yourself entangled in a pointless debate? Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, wondering why you even bothered? If so, you're in the right place, because today we're unlocking the secrets of truly wise individuals, the ones who navigate life's complexities with grace, preserving their peace of mind by understanding what's truly worth their energy and what's not. This isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about cultivating a deeper sense of inner tranquility and making your interactions more meaningful. You, the thoughtful viewer seeking growth and wisdom, are about to gain insights that can genuinely transform your daily life. Before we dive in, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss out on future wisdom. So what's the first thing wise people gracefully sidestep arguing about? 1. Other people's opinions on subjective matters. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself in a passionate debate about whether pineapple belongs on pizza, the superiority of one music genre over another, or which movie ending was truly the best? It feels important in the moment, doesn't it? Like if you just explain your point clearly enough, the other person has to see the light. But here's the profound truth wise people grasp. Taste, preference, and subjective experience are inherently personal. There's no objective right or wrong. From a psychological perspective, our brains are wired to form opinions based on our unique experiences, memories, cultural backgrounds, and even our current emotional state. What's appealing to one person might be utterly uninteresting to another, and both are valid in their own context. Stoicism, a philosophy that champions inner peace and rationality, teaches us to distinguish between what is within our control and what is outside of our control. Another person's subjective opinion falls squarely into the latter category. You can't control what someone enjoys, finds beautiful, or prefers. Trying to win an argument on such a topic is like trying to convince the sky not to be blue. It's a futile exercise that only serves to frustrate you and alienate the other person. Seneca, a prominent Stoic philosopher, often spoke about the importance of tranquility and preserving one's inner fortress. Engaging in these battles over taste is like leaving your gates wide open for external disturbances to rush in. Moreover, arguing about subjective opinions often stems from a subtle ego defense. We want our preferences to be validated, perhaps because they're intertwined with our identity. If someone disagrees with our favorite band, it can feel like a personal slight. But wise individuals understand that their identity isn't threatened by someone else's differing taste. They practice intellectual humility, recognizing that the world is rich with diverse perspectives and that this diversity actually enriches life rather than detracting from it. Instead of arguing, they might express their own preference, listen with genuine curiosity to the other's viewpoint, and then gracefully move on, appreciating the variety. They understand that life is too short and their mental energy too precious to be spent on trying to standardize human taste. It's a beautiful realization. When you stop trying to change what you cannot control, you free up immense energy for what truly matters. 2. The unchangeable past. We've all been there, haven't we? Ruminating over a past mistake, replaying a conversation where we should have said something different, or agonizing over a decision that, in hindsight, wasn't the best. Sometimes we even find ourselves in arguments with others about what happened previously, dissecting every detail, assigning blame, or wishing things could have unfolded differently. This is a common human tendency, but it's also a significant drain on our present happiness and future potential. From a psychological standpoint, our brains have a remarkable capacity for memory, but also for regret and counterfactual thinking, imagining alternative paths. While learning from the past is crucial, getting stuck in arguments about it, whether with ourselves or others, is profoundly counterproductive. The past, by its very definition, is immutable. It's done. It's a closed book. No amount of arguing, wishing, or relitigating will alter a single event that has already occurred. Stoicism offers profound wisdom here. Epictetus, another influential Stoic, emphasized focusing solely on what is within our power. The past is unequivocally not within our power to change. What is within our power is our interpretation of the past, our attitude towards it, and what we choose to learn from it for the future. Wise people understand that debating what should have been or arguing with someone about their memory of an event, which is often colored by their own perspective and emotions, is an exercise in futility. It generates heat but no light. Instead of fighting the past, wise individuals practice acceptance. This isn't resignation, it's a calm acknowledgement of reality. They process their emotions about past events, extract the lessons, and then consciously release the need to change what cannot be changed. If there was a wrong, they focus on making amends or preventing its recurrence rather than endlessly discussing the deed itself. Arguing about the past, especially with others, often turns into a blame game, fostering resentment and damaging relationships without providing any constructive path forward. A truly wise person understands that the only power the past has over us is the power we give it in the present moment. By letting go of the need to argue about it, they reclaim their mental energy for building a better present and future. 3. Things beyond their control. How often do we complain about the traffic, the incessant rain ruining our plans, or someone else's thoughtless behavior? It's a natural human reaction, isn't it? To voice our displeasure when circumstances don't align with our desires. Wise people recognize a fundamental distinction. There's a world of difference between acknowledging an inconvenience and engaging in a futile argument, either with the universe itself or with someone equally powerless. Psychologically, complaining can sometimes serve as a release, a way to vent frustration. However, when it morphs into persistent arguing, whether internally, "Why is this always happening to me?" or externally with others, "Can you believe this traffic?" it becomes a destructive habit. It keeps us anchored in a state of helplessness and victimhood, reinforcing the idea that our well-being is dictated by external forces. This constant struggle against reality is a surefire path to dissatisfaction. This point is perhaps the bedrock of Stoic philosophy. The dichotomy of control, as taught by Epictetus, states that some things are within our power and others are not. Our opinions, impulses, desires, and aversions are within our power. Our body, property, reputation, and other people's actions are not. The weather? Absolutely not within our control. Traffic? Largely outside our individual control. The decisions and behaviors of others? Entirely beyond our direct command. Wise individuals don't waste their precious mental and emotional resources arguing with these uncontrollable elements. They don't rail against the storm, curse the traffic jam, or engage in a futile debate about why someone shouldn't have acted a certain way. Instead, they focus their energy on what they can control: their response, their attitude, and their actions. If it's raining, they grab an umbrella or find an indoor activity. If there's traffic, they listen to an audiobook, practice mindfulness, or adjust their expectations. If someone acts ignorantly, they understand that person's actions stem from their own internal state and are not a reflection on them. They practice acceptance of what is and adaptability in response. Arguing with the uncontrollable is an argument you will always lose, leading only to frustration and wasted energy. The wise choose to conserve that energy for proactive, constructive engagement with what they can influence. 4. Petty grievances and insults. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic, or a colleague makes a snarky remark in a meeting. Our immediate, often primal reaction can be anger, a desire to retaliate, to put them in their place. We feel a surge of injustice, and the ego demands satisfaction. It's a natural human impulse to defend our honor or react to perceived slights. However, wise people possess an incredible ability to step back from this immediate reaction and evaluate the true cost of engaging. Psychologically, our fight-or-flight response is easily triggered by perceived threats, even minor social ones. When someone insults us or commits a petty grievance, our amygdala can light up, prompting an aggressive or defensive stance. We might feel a compelling need to argue back, to correct the record, or to deliver a cutting retort. But this path rarely leads to anything productive. More often, it escalates conflict, damages relationships, and most importantly, disrupts our own inner peace. Stoicism teaches us the immense power of indifference to externals, especially trivial ones. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, repeatedly emphasizes that what truly harms us is not what happens to us, but our judgment about what happens to us. An insult by itself is just words. Its power to wound us comes entirely from our decision to internalize it and let it define our emotional state. Wise individuals understand that engaging in arguments over petty grievances or direct insults is often precisely what the other person might want: a reaction, a validation of their attempt to provoke. By refusing to engage, they deny the insult its power. They recognize that their peace of mind is too valuable to be surrendered to the fleeting negativity of another. They don't need to win every minor skirmish to prove their worth. Instead, they might choose humor, silence, or a calm, non-reactive response. They understand that most petty provocations are either unintentional, born of the other person's own struggles, or simply not worth the mental energy required to address them. By choosing not to argue, they maintain their dignity, preserve their inner tranquility, and demonstrate a profound self-mastery that speaks far louder than any retort ever could. It's a powerful act of self-preservation, recognizing that not every battle needs to be fought, especially the ones designed solely to steal your peace. 5. Hypotheticals. How many hours have you spent, either alone or with others, dissecting elaborate what-if scenarios? What if I had taken that other job? What if the market crashes tomorrow? What if aliens landed? While curiosity and planning are essential, wise people draw a clear line between constructive foresight and obsessive argumentation about speculative, often improbable, hypotheticals. From a psychological perspective, our brains are skilled at imagination, which can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows for creativity and problem-solving. On the other, it can lead to anxiety and rumination, especially when applied to endless what-if spirals. When we argue about hypotheticals, we're essentially debating possibilities that exist only in our minds, with no grounding in current reality. This can manifest as an endless loop of worries, projecting fears onto a future that hasn't happened, or endlessly debating how one might react to an impossible situation. The problem isn't the thought itself, but the energy wasted in a prolonged, often emotional argument over something that is purely conjectural and often outside of our present control. Stoicism directly addresses the futility of excessive worry and preoccupation with future uncertainties. Seneca famously wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Wise individuals understand that while it's prudent to prepare for foreseeable eventualities, getting caught in an endless argument about highly improbable or far-fetched what-ifs is a recipe for mental exhaustion and anxiety. It diverts energy from dealing with the present and from addressing actual, tangible challenges. They apply a pragmatic filter. Is this hypothetical useful? Does debating it lead to a concrete action or a deeper understanding of a current situation? If the answer is no, they gracefully disengage. They recognize that arguing about what-if scenarios is often an attempt to control an uncontrollable future, a psychological defense mechanism that ultimately backfires. Instead of getting lost in a labyrinth of possibilities, they focus on what they can do now to prepare for a generally uncertain future, without fixating on specific, often unlikely outcomes. They understand that peace comes from accepting uncertainty and focusing on present action, rather than trying to mentally conquer every possible future scenario through endless debate. 6. Trying to prove someone else wrong, just for the sake of it. There's a subtle but powerful difference between engaging in a respectful discussion to understand different perspectives and arguing solely to demonstrate your intellectual superiority or to expose someone else's error. This isn't about healthy debate or sharing knowledge. It's about the ego's desire to win, and wise people, with their deep understanding of human nature and their own inner workings, recognize this trap and skillfully avoid it. Psychologically, this impulse often stems from a need for validation, a desire to feel smart or competent. When we see someone make a factual error or hold a view we perceive as flawed, there's an immediate impulse to correct them, especially in public. However, if the motivation isn't genuine education or mutual understanding, but rather the thrill of proving someone wrong, the interaction quickly becomes toxic. It puts the other person on the defensive, shuts down their openness to new ideas, and often leads to resentment rather than enlightenment. People rarely change their minds when they feel attacked or humiliated. They simply dig in their heels. Stoicism, while valuing truth and reason, also emphasizes benevolence and the understanding of human imperfection. Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher-emperor, often reminded himself that people act according to their own perceptions and beliefs, which may be flawed. Trying to forcefully dislodge those beliefs through aggressive argumentation often achieves nothing but friction. Wise individuals understand that changing someone's mind is a complex process that requires patience, empathy, and often an environment where the other person feels safe and respected enough to consider alternative viewpoints. They ask themselves, what is the true objective here? Is it to genuinely help this person, or is it to boost my own ego? If it's the latter, they choose silence or a gentle redirection. They understand that their own peace of mind is more valuable than winning a pointless intellectual skirmish. They also recognize that a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. Instead of arguing, they might offer information without attachment, share their own perspective calmly, or simply let minor inaccuracies pass, knowing that not every incorrect statement requires their immediate intervention. This isn't weakness, it's a profound strength that prioritizes harmony and genuine connection over superficial victories. 7. Matters of absolute truth, where proof is impossible. This is perhaps the most profound and challenging area for many people. We're talking about subjects like the existence of a higher power, the ultimate meaning of life, or the nature of consciousness. These are deep, fundamental questions that humanity has grappled with for millennia. And while philosophical discussion can be enriching, wise people understand the futility and often destructive nature of arguing about them as if there were a definitive, universally provable answer. Psychologically, our need for meaning and understanding is powerful. We crave answers to existential questions, and for many, their beliefs in these areas form the very bedrock of their worldview and identity. When these beliefs are challenged through aggressive argumentation, it can feel like an attack on their entire being, triggering deep emotional responses rather than rational thought. Different individuals arrive at their conclusions about these ultimate truths through vastly different paths: personal experience, faith, cultural upbringing, philosophical inquiry. And these paths are often deeply personal and not amenable to logical proof or disproof in a way that satisfies everyone. Stoicism, while generally rationalist, also teaches a profound humility regarding the limits of human knowledge, especially when it comes to the ultimate nature of the cosmos or divine will. The Stoics focused on what they could understand and control within their ethical framework, rather than endlessly speculating or debating metaphysical conundrums that had no practical bearing on how one should live virtuously in the present. Marcus Aurelius emphasized focusing on the duties of the present moment and living in accordance with nature, rather than getting entangled in unprovable theories about the universe's ultimate structure. Wise individuals recognize that these subjects are often matters of profound personal conviction and faith, or deep philosophical inquiry, not topics for a definitive win or loss in an argument. They understand that attempting to logically dismantle someone's deeply held spiritual or existential beliefs through aggressive debate is often an act of disrespect, leading only to division and resentment, not conversion. Instead of arguing, they might engage in respectful dialogue, share their own perspectives without imposing them, and most importantly, recognize and honor the right of others to hold their own beliefs in these areas. They focus on what unites people in terms of shared human values and ethical conduct, rather than getting bogged down in unresolvable debates about the nature of ultimate reality. They choose peace and understanding over futile battles for absolute truth in areas where such truth, at least to our finite minds, remains inherently elusive and personal.